What's going on, everybody? Thanks for checking out the Among the Ashes podcast. We're your hosts, Wes and Chris. On this episode, we're hanging out with a good buddy of mine, Mr. Scott Brown. Scott's going to share what it was like bouncing between California and Alabama while he was growing up and how his life took on major shifts depending on which state he was living in at the time. He discusses his alcohol and drug addiction, his love of music, as well as his stint in the U.S. Army. He also dives into his divorce and how it impacted him, his kids, and everyone around him, and how he's always felt God tugging at him no matter what he was facing or battling in his life. This is a multi-episode event that you don't want to miss. So everybody buckle up and get ready for a crazy ride with Scott. This is part 1, Consumed by Cali. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in tonight to the West, your host. This is Chris.
Hey, what's up?
Your other host. How's it going, buddy?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing good, man. We've got Scott Brown on tonight. How you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing good. You excited?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. For all like 2 people that'll listen, me and Chris.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I probably won't listen to this after this.
Yeah, it's a little tough, man. It's hard for me once I get through editing it for sure, like to go back and listen to it. But I do. I'm gonna listen to it as much as I can, just so it makes it climb.
Yeah.
But I'm an interesting dude, so
you are.
You're
You
probably
are.
gonna want to listen to it.
And hopefully they tune in for you because I know they're not tuning in for me. You know what I mean? So, well, Chris, anything special going on in your life?
No. I mean, dog did have puppies yesterday. Had 8 puppies, so that was experience.
Scott, you need a puppy?
No.
They're Goldadors. It's like a lab mixed with a golden retriever. So
see, I was really hoping it was like a pit weenie. Giant head, long body, but about that big around.
So to paint the picture of why he said that, we have a lab, but we also have a Chihuahua. So like if the Chihuahua in the lab had a puppy, it'd be quite humorous.
A Labwawa?
Whoa.
Or a Chalab?
Yeah.
Luckily we had Stella fixed, man. She went into heat and she was like a stage 5 clinger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to get this dog. Like, so she's really like attached to me anyway. I'm not saying I'm her person, but I'm her person in a lot of ways. She follows me around. She goes where I go, does what I do. But when she was in heat, it was like, oh my God, y'all get this dog away from me. So I'm glad we got her fixed and don't have to go through the whole puppy thing. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So Scott, you're going to share about your life tonight.
I reckon. If y'all are ready.
Yeah, man, I'm ready. I mean, you and I work together. We've been working together, about 10 years?
Well,
like
11.
11?
Going on 12.
Yeah. So I've known you longer than I wanted to.
Yeah.
Vice versa.
Longer than any decent relationship.
Right? No, man, Scott, you've been a blessing in my life for sure, man. Been there for me a lot, and I really do appreciate it. And when we started thinking about doing this, I was writing people down that I'd like to interview, and you were one of those people. Because I know a little bit about your life and things you've been through, and it's pretty interesting. So I'm gonna let you just take it. Start from wherever you want to start from.
Cool.
It was warm, wet. There was a bright light. All of a sudden, there were people with masks standing around. Doctor slapped me on the butt.
No, I slapped the doctor.
There you go. There you go. All right, man. It's yours, dude.
All right. Well, I appreciate the opportunity, man, and I'm excited and anxious to share. A lot of people would want to know, I'd imagine, but a lot of people already know and don't want to know anymore. But I was born in California. I can start there. Might as well start from the beginning. My mom, her father was in the Navy, and he was stationed in Alameda Naval Air Base in Northern California. And otherwise, she would have never been out there. They're all from Alabama. They're Alabama folks, from Pinson all the way up to Blunsville. That's her family line. And so she went to high school there all 4 years. And,
in California?
In California, yeah. In the Bay Area. And from here on out, when I say the Bay or the Bay Area, it's the San Francisco Bay Area. And we were never on the San Francisco side. We never had enough money. We were on the east side, Oakland, you know what I mean, that type of area, and down south. But so she went to high school, but was a beautician. Dad's a barber. So kind of weird that I never paid for a haircut my entire life until I went in the military and had to pay for my first haircut. And I had to have a haircut. Isn't that something? Yeah. But anyways, so wound up out there. I was born out there, had one younger brother. And just typical, they bought a house Just like a middle class, working family. Decent enough. Dad was more of he was the flashy barber. He was more the playboy type. You know what I mean? And I think that's what broke that up after, 4 or 5 years. It was done. He was just, of course, Mom was 18 when I was born, and Dad was like 21. So I mean, they were just kids.
Yeah, they were young
themselves. And Sean was my younger brother was born. Dad was 24 and Mom was 21. So you know what I mean? They were both still kids. And anyways, so growing up, just a typical kid. I don't have a lot of memories as from that, up to 5 or so, just a few. One was really funny. We had this next door neighbor, and he had this little boy. It was about my age. His name was David, and he wore glasses. I'm talking about sewed the bottom off the Coke bottle glasses. You know what I'm saying?
Pop a quarter in his ear.
You see him coming
future.
from pup to block. You know what I'm saying? So, and he would always lose or break them dang glasses and blame it on me. And see, that was back in the day when homeowners paid for everything.
So you were destined to work where we work because it's always your fault.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
so Scott, if I meet a guy today and he's a jerk, he's probably a jerk.
Yeah.
But if everybody I meet today is a jerk, it's probably me.
Yeah.
He is breaking them glasses.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I wasn't. So it has happened 2 or 3 times, and I'd always get a butt whooping when David lost or broke his glasses and blamed it on me. And I kept telling my dad, I didn't do it. I didn't break his glasses. You know what I mean? So I remember the last time, one of my last memories, we're out there, we're playing, and I see David's glasses laying on the ground, right? And I stomped the crap out of them glasses, man. I'm talking about, I just smushed them into flipping bits and grinded my foot in the ground, you know what I mean? And he started crying, so I went home and told my dad, I said, you know what? I did break his glasses. I finally broke them glasses, you know what I mean? And another memory is California, that, the houses are stacked together like friggin' sardines, right? So people don't have yards for gardens and stuff like that, but everybody plants fruit trees in their backyard in California. You go to somebody's house, man, there's an orange, there's a pear, there's a plum, there's an apple, lemons, limes, because everybody grew. So we had a plum tree in the back. And I remember we figured out how to climb over the fence, right? And me and David, he still has glasses, but we climbed over the fence and got to that plum tree, climbed up in it, and we're just sitting up in it, just big old purple plums, And we got in trouble. Of course, she could see it. Mom could see it was all over us and all that. And I thought I was doing something. She said, I'm not even going to spank you. I said, why? She said, you're going to be sick. Right? And I remember, like, for 2 days, man, just crapping. And she
plums
kept, she
that
kept
belly,
saying,
boy.
I tell you, I told you,
Yeah.
So we're, my folks got divorced, and we moved to an apartment, Mom and Sean and me. And she met somebody, a guy that she went to high school with, was friends with in high school. And so they got together, and next thing I know, we're going back to Alabama.
So how old were you at this time?
I was 5, going on 6, maybe.
Okay.
5, 5.5. And so next thing you know, I just remember traveling across the United States, but because Mom, once they got divorced, Mom didn't have anybody there. And I think her boyfriend was just looking to get out, get away from California. And so we take this journey, 2,500 miles, right? In a Pontiac Firebird.
Oh, man.
Yeah. 2 kids in the back, my stepdad up front. Well, he wasn't my stepdad yet, but he was chain smoking the whole entire time. You know what I mean? So it's like, you can imagine it was probably a 67, 68 Firebird. And we go cross country in that thing. Well, I guess apparently they had stopped in Nevada. I can't exactly remember, Carson City, Nevada, and got married at courthouse or whatever, because my mom's dad said, you show up here and y'all aren't married. She said, I'm shooting on sight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I remember that's the first thing I remember when we pulled into, they lived in Roebuck, I think it was, and pulled up in the driveway. Grandpa was on the front porch, man, with a shotgun.
So he meant business. He was serious.
Yeah. Oh, yo, he was serious because, you know, Mom was divorced and now she's got a boyfriend and you know, they thought they were just shacking up. And,
Right.
you know, she had to tell them, no, we got married. We're married, you know, so.
It was like 5 minutes, but we're married.
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't say how long I had to be married. You just said be
Exactly.
married, right?
Yeah. We were married 3 days, but you know, yeah, we're married. I think they had little cheapo pawn shop bands or whatever on, you know, but, after that, man, there was, it just got dark, you know, and, he just started beating us up, you know, didn't have any kids of his own. I learned later on, as I got older, he was in Vietnam, you know, and he had to shoot kids and, you know, just a whole bunch of stuff. But I mean, not an excuse to,
Sure.
you know what I mean? But he had a lot of crap going on,
Right.
you know?
Well, you know, I was 15 months old when my dad left, and you know, he was a Vietnam vet, and my mom said, you know, before he left, he drank some, you know, but when he came back, it was just kind of over the top, and you know, it was drugs, and you know, he would gamble the paycheck away or whatever, and in spite of him not being there, like my mom was always like, yeah, he's worthless because he's not here, but he had a problem.
Yeah.
And she would always say, you know, you don't know what he saw, what he went through, what he experienced. Not that that's an excuse,
Right.
but Vietnam messed a lot of folks up. Probably, I'm not saying war in general does. I mean, I think the military in general, it can be beneficial, but it can also create some bad stuff, especially if you have to go into any kind of fighting. You know, and there's a lot there that I would imagine you just want to escape from. You know?
Well, I wasn't even in combat, and I've got some, you know, just in 5 years, I've got some pretty traumatic stuff that happened.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so you really don't have to, you really don't have to go to war. I mean, but, you know, but anyway, so it was just really bad, and he would beat up Mom and then come to us, you know, and it was just this vicious cycle, and I didn't understand what was going on. What, you know, as a kid, what did I do?
Sure.
You know, I might have dropped something or whatever, but it was dark for quite a while. And he was a truck driver, drove a semi truck over the road sometimes, and sometimes he worked, sometimes he didn't, you know. And then, so I remember first, second, and third grade, I went to Robinson Elementary in Eastlake, and I actually played Pee Wee football. I was an Eastlake Cowboy.
Eastlake Cowboy.
Eastlake, not too many Caucasian gentlemen can speak to that.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? But I just, there's a lot of, I don't know if it was the trauma or what, but a lot of stuff, just a lot of years, a lot of things, a lot of places, stuff like that I don't have any memory of. You know what I mean? I just lose time. I lose track of, you know, don't remember first and second grade really vivid. Third grade, hardly remember any childhood memories from school or things like that.
You think you were trying to block that out?
Except for
That's what I was about to say. Is it a coping mechanism?
Yeah, I think the brain does that. I don't think, you know, like as a kid, you don't have much control over, especially your brain hasn't even developed that much yet. And then he got a job running for Coors beer in Colorado. So we moved to Colorado. So at this point, I'm already in 3 states and I'm not even 10 years old yet.
Right.
You know, and moving like that, I guess one thing. And overall, I think it's 8 or 9 different schools in 12 years total.
And that's tough. You know, I went to, I started out at Bagley, went to Summerton, back to Bagley, corner. and then I stayed at Hayden from about middle of my 4th grade to through my 10th grade year, and then I graduated 11th and 12th grade. I graduated from Dora, and that's same community essentially. Like you see the same people, but like you develop relationships with people and you just don't have them anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a little easier when I was older because I could drive and I could still see those people being in the same community. But nothing on my mom. Like she just did what she had to do.
Right.
Could find a place cheap enough for us to live. She's a single mom. But yeah, it's pretty tough on a kid. I mean, because those are your formative years. And you're not able to maintain the relationships that you built with people because you're not there long enough.
Yeah, as soon as you make one, you're gone.
Which I think, and there again, I'm not a psychologist. Please, everybody know that we're not doctors, we're not psychologists. This is just our own experiences. But my thought process is that almost kind of, not knocking your mom or my mom or anybody who's had to do that, but it almost hurts you in later years as far as relationships go,
right?
Because you just don't know how to have one. It's like, well, if I spend more than 6 or 8 months with this person, they're going to leave or I got to leave. So what's the point? Yeah.
You can look at the apples and make applesauce, because I look in hindsight, I look back and go, you know what, my personality, and if you don't like me, you got a problem.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But there's nobody, what's the saying? Never met a friend or whatever it is, but I mean, that's how my friend making ability, how I made friends, that increased. So wherever I went, I had to make, so it's, I guess that developed part of my personality and part of my ability to socialize.
Yeah. So you would say you went the opposite direction, like you were more sociable. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, maybe I felt like I had to be.
Yeah, you had to be more social because you wanted to make those friends as to just letting it be organic and develop and happen. It's like I got to do it all right now up front because I may not have that chance later.
Right.
To where other people, maybe it just causes them to back up and say, well, I don't want to make friends because they're not going to be there. So I can see.
Yeah, So I kind of went the other way, and of course that was part of my downfall in grade school and high schools. I became the social butterfly, man, and I was getting in trouble for talking and hanging out in the hallways and being late, and so it developed into a bad habit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Me trying to do that, it's like, well, we're going to Colorado. I better make some friends.
Mm-hmm.
Do not remember. I have maybe 2 memories of my 5th grade year.
Oh wow.
So I'm talking about the whole school year, everything.
Well, you would think that you would remember that, being that long ago. Y'all couldn't have had that 3 or 4 people in your class. I mean, you got Moses.
Methuselah. Yeah. So I remember it was 1976, and there was a flagpole out in front of the school, and they were doing a time capsule. Y'all ever heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So they take a bunch of stuff, like the bicentennial quarter came out, you know what I mean, in 1976. So they put that and a bunch of other stuff from 1976, maybe a newspaper, maybe, whatever, put it in a box and buried it in the ground at the flagpole. And I guess I haven't even looked to try to find the school online to see if they're still there.
Yeah.
But
I remember us doing that. Now, that would have been 3 years before I was born that you did that. But I remember us doing that probably somewhere around 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, somewhere in there. Well, it would have had to been 3rd grade because I would have been at Bagley. I remember us doing that though. But I don't remember ever digging it up. I don't know if they do it, when those classes graduate, or I don't know. Or
no, is it 20 years?
Yeah,
is
maybe.
Because now it would be
more
than 40.
A long time.
Because this year is our 40th.
Graduation,
yeah. So, I was doing
the math the other day.
Oh, shoot, I kicked that thing again. Check.
Yeah, there we go.
Check.
There we go. We're back.
Sorry.
All right.
We're back, everybody.
All right.
I'll cut and edit that.
Okay.
So,
then the second memory I have is we'd always have an end of the year party, end of the school year party. And Mom, being a beautician, Mom either had mints or always had some gum in her purse. And for Mom, it was juicy fruit. You know what I mean? Mom's purse always smelled like juicy fruit gum. If you don't even know what juicy fruit is.
Yeah, my grandmother's always smelled like double mint.
Yeah. So I was always chewing gum, and I always got in trouble in class, man, for chewing gum. I snagged a piece of gum out of Mom's purse before I left that morning. Mr. Brown, are you chewing gum in class? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Can you kindly spit it out, you know? Or she would say, did you bring enough for the whole class?
Yeah.
No, ma'am, I did not, right? So I told Mom, and Mom got several notes that I was chewing gum in class and whatnot. And so the last day of the party, bubble yum's what I liked, right? She bought the box of like 10 packs of the case of bubble yum.
Yeah.
And you could bring something to the class, a little something to candy or something to share.
See,
with
at the point the
everybody, right?
teacher would have said, "You have enough for everybody," I would have said,
Yes.
"No, I don't. This is all mine."
Yeah, so I've got, I think, 2 pieces in my mouth, and I'm blowing freaking bubbles as big as my head, you know, and she's looking at me, and she said, "Mr. Brown, you chewing gum in class?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, I am." She said, "You're bringing it up for the whole class?" And I reached down underneath my desk, and I said, "Yes, ma'am, I did." The kids are going, you know what I mean? It was cool. So Colorado, the one thing I do remember is the snow. Because we lived in Golden, which is where the brewery is. And right out of our apartment, you could see the G that's on the side of the mountain for Golden. And the apartments were on like 3 different levels. There was a building up here, then a hill, then a building, and then a hill. It was like a 3-tiered complex. And it would snow, man, and just you could put your parka on, man, and just slide down, you know, from hill to hill. And if we know it was going to freeze, but it wasn't going to snow, somebody'd take their garden hose and just wet the grass, and it would be just a sheet of ice, man. And we would just, and there was a pool. At our level, there was a pool that had a 6-foot fence around it. And the snow would just come off of both sides and just do drifts all the way up to the fence. So we'd do tunnels, man, through the snow. Yeah. And it was just, it was really cool as a kid. And my brother Sean, he was just, you know, he was so cold all the time that Mom dressed him up like the kid from Christmas
Story.
You know what I'm saying?
Come on, Ralph.
Raffy, come
I
back.
can't put my arms
come
down.
Raffy, come back.
And so, matter of fact, we had to walk all the way down to the end of the complex, probably about a good half mile or so to where the bus stop was. And
15 miles.
yeah, 15 miles both ways, uphill barefoot. And Sean, even though he was wrapped like Chewbacca, you know what I'm saying? He would be freezing to death, and he'd be crying. Sometimes I had to walk him back up. Mom would have to take him to school and all that. But that was where it got really bad, the abuse. And I remember our apartment was on the ground floor, but the windows were at the ground level. So we were like 3 or 4 feet underground.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
the apartment was kind of underground.
Kind of like a basement.
So you could open up the window and there was the ground.
Right.
You know? So I remember one night I knew, you know, he was tuning up Mom, and I knew we were next, or I was next. And they had a couple that Mom was real good friends with the lady in the same complex, and he was coming in. I knew he was coming. And so I was in my underwear. I opened up the window, man. I climbed out the window. There's snow on the ground, you know. I just climbed out in the snow and just ran to her house and told her husband I wasn't going back unless, you know, he stopped and everything else. And the next day, I forgot to mention one of the most important things. 1972, my baby brother Tony, they had a child. My mom and my stepdad. That's where I got Tony.
Yeah.
How could I forget Tony? My
Right.
gosh, man. Dude. Oh, I'm sorry, Tony. So Tony was, at this point, Tony was 4, I think. 4 or 5, because he's born in 72. So, and he never touched Tony.
That's what I was going to ask. Was it?
Never.
Did Tony get any?
Tony was always the kid in the corner, just and bless him, man.
Yeah,
you know
thank
what I'm
God he
saying?
didn't get it, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, just bless him. Not only the fact that he had to see all this crap, but he's probably wondering, well, why is why is it not happening? Why is it not happening to me?
Yeah.
You know. So the next day, we had one of those cool '70s vans, man, one of those conversion vans, you know. So Mom loaded us up the next day, all three of us, or all her and the three of us boys, and she got about 100 miles away and called my stepdad and said, "I'm gone. Only way I'll come back is if you never lay a hand on them again, you know, or me."
Yeah.
Period. And she came back, and it never happened again, because he wasn't worried about anything else but her taking Tony.
Yeah.
That was his baby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was his only child. Well, no, Tony has a bigger sister. He was previously married and had a daughter with his first wife.
You know, that's kind of the way it happened with us. Like, my stepdad, he was a great provider. Like, I mean, we had nice clothes and Nike tennis shoes, but that was one time a year. You know, it was at school time. And I remember, like, my room, I kept my room straightened up and cleaned up. I mean, it was a kid's room, but I had 5 minutes to be picked up, you know. My sister, on the other hand, I mean, you're stepping on stuff walking through her room. And my stepdad, you know, he ranting and raving, you know, and, you know, I thought my name was MF and SOB, you know, it's the way he talked to me and stuff. And I was hired, or a live-in hand, basically. You know, I had a cow farm. And I remember coming home one day and all my stuff's gone. And, dude, I had every Ninja Turtle in the world.
Wow.
That I worked for and paid for.
Yeah.
Some I got for Christmas, but I would do odd and end work for my aunt, and I'd buy Ninja Turtles or whatever. That's what I was into. Gone. All of it's gone. I had this hovercraft boat I loved. Gone. Got it for Christmas. And threw all my sister's stuff away. And, you know, and that was punishment because our room wasn't clean, which it was better than some of the other punishment I got. But when I was about 15, we were working cattle one day, and one of their friends, my mom and stepdad's friends, were over for dinner, and her husband was down there. And whatever reason, my stepdad just wanted to go off on a tangent that day. And, you know, we had a lot. There was 3 lots. We're separating cattle. Like, if I let a cow go by, all I had to do was open the gate and bring it back. Yeah. It wasn't like it was gone, you know. And, dude, it got ugly. And, you know, he threatened to beat me with a stick. And I told him, I said, I'll kill you. I'll kill you. You touch me again, I'll kill you. Yeah. So I know where your ammunition's at. I know where your gun's at. If that's not sufficient, I'll get it. And I meant it. I was 15 years old. And I didn't say anything. I left walking, and one of the guys that helped us pick me up, and he's like, you know, man, he's just upset. Don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. And I guess he told my mom the next day we were gone. And thank God we did, because I probably would have killed him, you know, and where would I be now? You know what I mean? But and not that he was a bad person. Like, he had a lot of good attributes, but, you know, he had a hard life. He grew up. He was 20-something years older than my mom, and his dad got his leg cut off in the mine. So at 8 years old, my stepdad was driving a coal truck. You know, I mean, he was timber trucks, and he was working. So he had a hard life, and I get it. I mean, it taught me how to work, taught me how to be a man, things like that. But there was just, sometimes you just take it too far, you know, and that's one thing I've always tried with my kids, is to not take it too far. Mm-hmm. You know, I've whipped my kids. I've talked loud to my kids, but it's like, I don't ever want them to go through that trauma and that abuse, and because it affected me long term in life. You know what I mean? Like, you know, at work, I don't really stand up for myself as much. You can kind of, I'll yes sir you to death just to get you to quit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Instead of taking my stance, even if I'm right, it's just yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. You know, so, you know, it's probably a good thing that she took that stand, and even if it was for Tony, you know, it stopped. Yeah. And I don't know if it would have been any easier for her to do it by herself. Probably not, being a single mom, especially in the 70s and 80s when minimum wage was $3 an hour. You know what I mean? If it hadn't been Tony, it probably wouldn't have stopped. Right. You know, and one of the scariest, most tragic memories that I've got is we were in that house in Colorado. We had moved from that apartment, and
She left. I'm sorry. She left when we were in that house. I think we were renting a house in a different city in Colorado, and lived next door to an Italian family. Fabulous, man. Made their own sausage and Italian food, and had a wine cellar where they made cheese, and that's just fabulous. But anyway, so I'm a 9 or 10-year-old kid. I can't remember, probably closer to 10. And one night, it was just bad. And I remember somewhere during the night getting up, walking into the kitchen, grabbing the biggest knife I could find. And I'm standing over him in the bedroom. Him laying on his back. I was just about to plunge that knife into his chest. And I don't know what stopped me. Had to be the Lord. Because there was nothing in me that was going to stop. Because, you know what I mean? But I just looked at Mom, and she was sleeping, and you know what I mean? Then I just went back in the kitchen and put the knife back up. But no 9 or 10-year-old boy should ever feel like that, man. I'd ever be in that situation.
Yeah.
You know? But I remember whenever he would go out of town, or Dad would say to me, you know, when I was a little bit, now you're the man of the house now, you know what I mean? And I had 2 younger brothers that I took care of, which will be stories for later. But yeah, that was tragic, man. And then up to this point, up to Colorado, so 10 years, 5 years, so 5 or 6 years had gone by from 5 to 10, right? I had seen my dad one time. Dad had come out to Alabama one time and got a hotel room. We stayed with him in the hotel room. We did something during the day, and he dropped us back off, you know, or spent a couple of days with us. But never saw Dad. As soon as Mom left Alabama, he stopped paying child support. So Mom never got anything. Raised us on her own for the most part, because a lot of times, what's his name didn't work.
Yeah.
So, so Dad was really not in the picture, but he'd gotten a girlfriend or a wife, I can't remember, but there was a lady in his life, and wanted to start seeing us, you know, and we're closer, so it'd be cheaper from Colorado to send us. So we started spending the summers at Dad's in California. Come out there, and you know, he was doing, they were doing shows, how to teach people how to style the 70s style hair, you know what I mean? That was real big, and so they were making good money. He had a house, you know, big house. So all of a sudden we go from rags to riches,
right?
You know. Well, we get back that summer, and I just mentioned to him about what was going on, because we'd only seen him like 2 other times before that, and he had to come apart, you know, that we were getting abused. So I said something to Mom about custody one time. She said, "No, he just took you." He said he got an attorney and said they're not going back there, maybe to visit. You know what I mean? So he, all of a sudden, we're in California again, you know, and
this is you and Sean.
This is Sean and I, yeah. And another thing is Tony, man. All of a sudden, the only 2 brothers he's ever known are snatched right out of his life. You know, he was big, liked Hot Wheels and tracks, and collected Hot Wheels and stuff. Mom said for 6 months after we left, that's all he did was roll Hot Wheels on his bed and on the floor, and you know what I mean? Pretty traumatic. Yeah. You know? And
I don't know if y'all can hear that. It's raining and thundering pretty bad. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry for the audio if y'all can hear that out there.
That's par for the course.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Perfect background. Yeah.
I planned it.
Yeah, so basically, now we're going back. We've done a role reversal, so now we're doing Dad's for school and Mom's for summer. You know, and at that point in time, Colorado didn't work out, or he lost his job there, and they went back to Alabama. So Mom and them moved back to Alabama. So I was back to going from California to Alabama, and we had, it was pretty good. Like I said, we had things for, you know, for a change. Not that we didn't have things. Mom always provided. You know, Mom was great. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that he used to tip in 50 cents and $1 back in the day. Well, she'd come home with a purse full of quarters, and we want to go somewhere, and she'd just dig in her purse and
Drop
just
quarters.
drop quarters.
Video games for days, boy.
Oh, dude, not stat. It wasn't even video games yet. You know what I'm saying? It was like that penny candy for when gumballs were a penny. You know, back in the day. But I remember her, you know, getting dinner from her tips, a couple boxes of mac and cheese, a pack of weenies, and you know, making dinner. But Mom always, you know, nothing against Mom. She was the rock that kept all of us together.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way my mom was. Like, in spite of our circumstances, we never knew we were poor. I didn't.
Right.
I didn't. You know, I mean, I knew like, you know, when I turned 16, obviously she couldn't buy me a car. You know, we had one car, and she eventually bought another one, and I got it. But like, I never thought of myself as the poor kid. You know what I mean? My mom is a seamstress. All of my aunts and my mom, my grandmother, like, they can make clothes, like, I mean, they look legit, you know what I mean? And you can have my mom a few pieces of fabric. You know, for Christmas every year, she makes wallets and purses and whatever, and it looks like store-bought stuff, you know? So, you know, we never knew we were poor. We had a lot of hand-me-down stuff or a lot of homemade stuff, but we never knew it because she just made it happen. I don't know how, but she did, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just any good mom's going to be like that.
Right, 100%.
You know what I mean? And that's the way Mom was. And
we always had food to eat. There was always something, you know what I mean? Like, we were never hungry. We were never dirty. Our clothes were never dirty, you know?
Because she would take that tip money and stop by on the way home and, you know, get a loaf of bread or pack of weenies or something, you know.
My mom's still that way. Like, I could call my mom right now and say, "Hey, Mom, you got any money?" She's like, "Yeah, I got a little bit. How much you need?" "Well, I need all of it." "Okay, well, come get it."
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you know what I mean? She'll sacrifice for us even as adults, you know. I don't know. I can go on and on about
and
Mom
was the Southern mama too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, she talks like me. She has that California accent because that's where she grew up.
Right.
But, you know, her mom was always said, "You got something to eat? Do you have something to eat?" You walk in the house, "Hey, get you something to eat or something in the fridge." You know what I mean? So Mom's still like that.
Right.
You know,
that's what
going by her house, checking her mail or something like that. You know, and, "Hey, there's something in the fridge. Get you something." You know, you know what I mean? And that's the way she's always been, and the way she'll always be. Thank God I still got her. You know what I mean?
For real. I was like Chris's mom. She passed away how many years ago now?
So she passed away in 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even me, like, so Chris was a student in my youth ministry, and like, she always just trusted me to take Chris wherever and do whatever, you know.
That's some trust.
Yeah, for real.
It was.
No doubt. I think I carried a group of them to Hooters once or twice, you know, because that's where they wanted to eat. But hey, whatever.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, we were teenage boys. Let's go have some fun, you know.
Yeah,
but,
we were all teenage boys. You were not teenage boys.
I was 25, 26. You know, I'm still 16 in my mind. I wasn't gonna let them get out of line.
Hey, funny story about that though. So the waitress comes up and she's like, "Hey, how y'all doing today?" In a real deep voice, kind of like yours, Scott. And so Wes was like, "Can we get a different waitress?" And then she was like, "Ha ha ha ha," you know. But he was being dead serious.
Yeah,
but it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a little creepy.
It was. Wow. I mean, she had a deep voice, and I mean, you got to think that was what in 2000. I
mean, I'm taking these kids to Hooters. You know what I mean?
2006. You know.
Yeah,
a home run there.
But you've got a certain as a teenage young man, you've got a certain expectation,
right? And I knew that,
and knowing Hooters and the situation,
and I knew
you know, you got great sports on TV. You know what I'm saying? You can't really partake in
hot
beverages.
Wings.
Good hot wings. Yeah.
They can't drink. They might as well have some fun.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, why? Well, anyway.
So
it's too much political correctness today.
So we're
don't want to get canceled.
No, we're at.
We got to get started
before we ever get started.
Yeah.
So we're in California, and this is in the mid '70s. So fifth grade in '76 was my last year in Colorado. Mom then moved back. We moved to California. The lady was real nice, my dad's wife, but she'd always had a little problem because Dad, after he had Sean, got a vasectomy. So he couldn't have any more kids. So she wanted kids of her own, but, wanted to be married to my dad. So all of a sudden now she's got 2 preteen boys.
Right. Culture shock.
Yes,
Big change.
Complete culture shock. And so their lifestyle of hitting the road for 3, 4, 5 days, you know what I mean?
Right.
They had to find a sitter or send us to our grandmothers or whatever, So there was a lot of resentment there, and nothing really physical. Dad whooped our butts,
Right.
With the belt, but we knew.
Yeah, you needed it.
Why we're getting a butt whooping, and we got a butt whooping, But it got to the point to where she was like making stuff up. You know what I'm saying? Wait till your dad gets home, kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And it was just becoming increasing, and she just turned out to be a huge step crazy. You know what I mean? Saying it, I don't know how I wanted to use the B word really bad because it was so appropriate.
Right.
You know what I mean? But so here we are going from this physical situation into this mental situation.
And sometimes that's worse.
Dude,
Sometimes,
it was. I mean,
I'd rather you just beat me.
Yeah. I remember, so many instances and so many things, and it was, and we were like Cinderella. You know what I mean? We were the 2 little step kids that, you know what I mean? We were like her slaves.
Right.
We had to, I remember having to stack dishes in the cabinet. You know what I mean? And if it wasn't done, Tupperware was huge.
Yeah.
Right? And she was a Tupperware lady, which kind of gives you an instant of what she's all about, right?
Boy, to have all that Tupperware today, though.
Oh, dude. Especially, some of the
as much as it's worth.
We got all the cool stuff, too, not just the bowls and the different colors and all this stuff. Right? But, she would pull it all out of the counter in the middle of the kitchen floor. We'd have to do it all over again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just stuff like that. You know what I mean? Making your beds and rooms had to be, she was a freaking clean freak with the vacuum marks on the rug.
All right, sorry about that, everybody. We had a little bit of storm come through, and Chris had to leave. Something about a tree fell or something at his house. So we were talking about your stepmom.
Oh yeah, going from the the physical to the mental, man, and I guess you could call it. I mean, we just got a lot more butt whoopings than we should have got, because Dad was coming home and. Hearing this stuff, and they did this, they did that, you know what I mean? And we get our butts whooped and grounded, and
probably for things that you were just being a kid doing,
It was, and she was just so retentive about, the way she kept house and stuff like that. It was tough to be a kid in that house.
Yeah,
it was a huge house. It was on a little man-made lake, and it was called the Island. And very prestigious place to be in that part of town.
Kind of like Chateau de Snyder here.
Exactly. Yeah. I kept, when I pulled up, kept waiting for the butler to come out.
Yeah. Well, I gave him the weekend off.
Oh. So, it was just our lives had changed again, and it just seems like we went from progression to progression. We just kept going from everywhere we went. It just continued, and it was tough. Mm-hmm. It was real tough. I always had friends though, you know what I mean? Because that's my first plan of action was, hey, I got to make some friends,
right?
Get to know folks. First time drinking story. What should I go? Yeah. So I had a friend who lived across on the other side of the lake. I could see his house from my house, but he had to go out the subdivision, go all the way around down the street. I had this boom box, big old double speaker, D-cell batteries. If David
toted it on your shoulder.
No, you wasn't toting this one on your shoulder. This was a monstrosity. This had the handle. You hung it down by the side. And I was only like 13, 14. Went to his house, and his dad had one of those downstairs areas, with the bar, and it was cool. The bar was all leather and it had wheels. You could move it around from place to place, So he's like, man, let's get get a drink from my dad's bar? I was like, Dad, I don't know, man. My dad drinks and he knows what it smells like, knows what it looks like. You know, dad's a veteran. So, so we started making what we call suicides, man. We started dumping stuff in a cup, you know, just drinking. And I had to make my way on foot back to so I was like, it was like, you know, people were all over the lawn around the lake, and I'm just stopping talking to folks and hey, you know, whatever. And I get home, I make it home, you know. I remember sitting out in the front. I live in the cul-de-sac, sitting there on the sidewalk, and I got Sean, I got Marvin, and I love you, man. I love you. You know what I mean? Doing this thing. He's like, dude, what's wrong with you? You know? And so Dad came home. My stepmom says, he's on the couch. Something's wrong with him. I can't get him up. And Dad comes over and he says he walked within 3 feet of me and already knew he could smell me. Already knew what was going on, you know? And he wakes me up. Get your butt up, you know? And I just remember taking about 3 steps, and it was friggin' Linda Blair projectile.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, just, and so sick, you know, they just kept feeding me water.
Yeah.
And this was on a Friday. Well, Dad, his shop was open on Saturday. He was off Sundays and Mondays. And so Dad had to work Saturday. And he had a deck he was building out on the back.
No, you had to work Saturday.
Oh, dude. I mean, so he had this drain, the black perforated pipe that he was running underneath the deck and all of it. So this is the whole length of the yard, you know, 12 inches deep, 12 inches wide. And he had it marked out, but he had not dug it up yet. Well, that was my job Saturday. Yeah. And I'm just, hungover, just feel like somebody kicked me in the head, you know, cottonmouth. And his only instruction was just feed him water all day long. You know, don't put anything else in his stomach, just feed him water. You know,
it's funny. We did an interview a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about being teenagers and doing your dirt or whatever, and how you think your parents don't know, you know, and there's probably a lot of times that they don't know, but like we would get busted smoking. How did she know? Duh, you smell like it. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Did she not smoke?
No.
Yeah, see, already my family smoked, so I probably, that's one I could have got away with.
So, and then, you know, we had our hiding places, and my aunt would find it, or, you know, my mom would find it or whatever. We're like, how'd they find it? But it's like you don't think about them being teenagers and doing their dirt, so they know. They know where it's hidden. They know what you're doing. And I remember my cousin Marcus, we had all went, or I didn't go actually that weekend, but we would go camping, and people would, you know, everybody pull their money together and get alcohol or whatever. And we're 15, 16, or we're able to drive, so we're probably 16, 17. But that next day, he was going to rotate his tires and change his plugs in his car or whatever anyway. Might have been a little older than that, but we were still too young to be buying alcohol, still living at home. And he just started sweating. And it's like, bro, how much did you drink last night? And he's like, oh, I had a few. And I was like, you had the whole case, because like I'm getting drunk smelling you right now. Like, and his mom would come down, and he would go to the opposite side of the car. And then she'd walk over there, and he'd come back around. Like he would just avoid her. Yeah. And she finally was like, why do you keep moving? Like, I'm trying to talk to you. Why are you moving around? Oh, I'm just trying to get work done. I'm just trying to finish what I'm doing, you know, like she didn't know. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we always wondered how we got in trouble, but yeah.
So that was my first and last lesson at that point in time. I realized that alcohol was not my jam.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't like that. So I remember I was in 8th grade, and this is like 1980, and middle school, and just about to graduate 8th grade. Had a friend, you know. He was like, you ever smoked before? I was like, I've had hits off a cigarette. You know what I mean? He's like, no, I'm talking about, you ever smoked weed before? I said, no, man, I'm afraid of getting in trouble, because every time I do something stupid, I get in trouble. Right. Because I just can't keep myself out of it. You know what I mean? It just follows me. So turns out trouble is my middle name. So he's like, hey, man, my brother's got this plant, and we could just go pinch some off of it. And I was like, I don't know, dude. I do not want to be beat up by somebody's big brother. Right. You know, I'm a big brother. So I don't want to, I don't want to go there. He's like, no, man, it's everywhere. He's like, you wouldn't even know if we just pinched a little bit. So he did. He pinched a little bit and went down to the oven. He put it on a little tray to dry it out a little bit, and then we smoked. I don't remember if it was a pipe or bong, whatever it was. But I remember we rode our bikes to his house from my house. I remember riding my bike home, man. I think I did a wheelie halfway home. You know what I mean? It was just.
You probably just popped up and back down, but it felt like
the wheelie was all the way home, and I think I told everybody that, dude. I rolled like a 2-mile wheelie, but it was just I was like, my world opened up.
Yeah,
the gateway drug.
See, I was completely opposite. Like the first time I ever smoked marijuana, and I'm not advocating it at all, but like. I just felt nothing, and I was like, why did I even do that? I always said I'd never do drugs, all that stuff. And I wasn't even a real big drinker. Like, I drank, like, 4 beers, I'm gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At that point. And so I tried it, didn't really do anything. Well, they talked me into it a second time, and, man, I turned green. Like, I was so sick.
Really?
And it went from, like, smoking it to instantly... I got to coughing, and therefore I got sick to my stomach. And an hour into that is, I guess, when it finally just really started kicking. And then, like, I was good, but I was so high, like I couldn't function. Like I just sat there in space, and I learned really quickly. The third time I ever smoked it, I got sick again, projectile.
Wow.
We went to a club. I was puking the whole way there, passed out in the club for like 3 hours. Like, how do you sleep through that?
Wow. Yeah.
So I learned really quickly.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
Yeah. Well, that was, it was like I didn't get sick like I did with the alcohol.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I felt good. And if you washed up and, all that, you really couldn't smell it and had something to eat or something to drink, But, that was... So, drank already, smoked already, and I think one more time, smoking with friends, smoke cigarettes with friends. They found out, and so they were going to this. In the meantime, don't let me forget. No church up until we came back to Alabama. So I was 5 or 6. Sunday school on the bus, and I always remember the felt boards with the characters and all that, you know what I mean? So raised up in it, Baptist church, mostly, and not much church in Colorado. So when we got back to California, I was going to church with my grandmother, my dad's mom. She played piano in the church. She was 17 years old when she started playing piano for the church. She played a week before she died when she was 88 years old.
Wow.
And could probably tell you on 2 hands how many Sundays she missed.
Yeah.
She was the music.
Right.
It was Church of Christ if Grandma wasn't there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No music.
No music. Zero. Yeah, you didn't have nothing. So raised up that way, so I understood the Baptist church and understood Sunday school and stuff like that. Really still didn't have a concept of, you know what I mean, who Christ was, and I really didn't have enough.
Well, but
there.
I think that's a beautiful thing. I mean, like, if you read the Bible is, I mean, it's just prophecy. You know what I mean? Like every word of it, and it says to train a child in the ways of the Lord, and in the end, they'll not depart from it.
Exactly.
So there's a lot to be said for taking your children to church.
There is.
When they're small, even if they go astray for years and years and years, there's a lot to be said for that. Right. So you had gone to church as a child.
Had gone to church as a child, and always to church when I was with my grandmother, my dad's mom. Like I said, she played the piano, grandpa played the guitar, he was the tenor voice.
Right.
You know what I mean? So they were in church every time the doors were open.
And there again, that's the beautiful thing of what the Bible says about training a child in the ways of the Lord. Because
exactly.
You may lose your way along the way, but you'll always come back. And that's what I try to tell people. It's like, just read the Bible.
Yeah.
Like, if you're having a problem, you need to find your way through life. It's telling you exactly what you need to know. And that's it's mind blowing for me that people don't that they don't even. Number one, it's mind blowing if they don't believe in God. I do get that at times, like your faith being tested and your struggle. God, are you listening? Are you there? I've been there myself. But then, like, when I open that Bible and read it, like, there's nothing in my 45 years on this planet that I can't go to that Bible and find and say, okay, he had already mapped it out.
Yeah.
I just hadn't found it.
Yeah. Well, you got to understand, I know people right now in California that have never heard a word, never been to church, just living their lives. California is an environment that consumes you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's all consuming. And before you know it, now you're a part of the machine.
Yeah.
You're a cog in that machine. It just keeps turning and turning, and you can't stop.
Right.
You know, you're gonna mess up the whole thing. But anyways, and also, if I had $100 bill for every person that has said to me they had a praying grandmother, dude, y'all wouldn't see me at work Monday. I'm serious, man. More people say grandmothers, and now, you know, especially in different communities, you know, the Black community, Latino communities, man, they're being raised by their grandmothers,
right?
You know, and I hate to say it, but it's just a reality,
right?
And these grandmamas, I remember every time I was at my grandmother's, right? She had the room, we had the spare room right in front of the house, and her and Grandpa always had separate beds. I didn't understand that. Everybody I knew their mom and dad were sleeping together, you know? And one time I asked her, I said, Grandma, how come you don't sleep with Grandpa? Do you not love him? She said, oh, baby, I love him. I love him more than anything in this whole wide world. But he kicks like a mule, and I can't say, I just can't sleep with him. She said, I'll spend all day with him. Comes time to go to bed, we kiss each other goodnight. But passing by that room with that light on, she's got that Bible open. And I remember waking up some nights, and she's standing over me and Sean, praying.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm talking about just full on, you know, just praying over us, you know, because she knew the struggles that we were going through.
Sure.
Especially with Mom, you know, and she always loved Mom and always prayed for Mom too. But so we hadn't been to church, you know, in quite a few years, going from Colorado. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember if my dad's wife got saved or if my dad got saved. But it was just like all of a sudden, we're going to church.
Yeah. Complete transformation.
Dad was a bass singer really well. I think the Singing Browns is our family from Oklahoma that used to be artists back in the 50s and 60s. But Dad was a very, very pronounced bass, you know. And that's where I got a little bit of it. I was going to
say, you didn't gain none of that, did you?
Nah, I didn't gain any of it.
Give us a little bit, Scott. Give us a little bit.
Mama sang bass. Bob sang tenor. So, no, so he got with the quartet immediately. So he was, you know, he was in, and he was all in. Plus, he grew up in the Baptist church with the hymns, but I don't know why, dude. They chose full-on Pentecostal. You know, I mean, it was, I can't remember. Oh, Assemblies of God. I don't know that, you know, I didn't.
Well, you know, I'm licensed in the Church of God, and the Church of God split from the Methodist Church, and the Assemblies kind of took off of Church of God. But the 70s and 80s, there was a huge movement of, you know, the Pentecostal church, and I would say in California, that's probably why. Mm-hmm. Just the explosion of the Pentecostal movement. You know, we grew up Church of God here in Alabama as kids. I don't know why. It's just my grandparents went, my mom went, and I've been to just about every denomination. It's funny. Licensed in the Church of God. My two youngest kids pretty much cut their teeth on the pews there, and all four of my kids are so Baptist. Yeah, you know, it's like because we go to a it's under the Baptist umbrella, but it's as Pentecostal as you can get in a Baptist church. You know, man, you're free to worship how you want, think how you want. They're not anti this, anti that. They're just like, hey, we want you to come. You know what I mean? Just be here and worship how you want to worship and do what you want to do. But it is interesting to hear on the West Coast.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was, and it just freaked us out, dude. I mean, people are
Bobby pins flying
you know
everywhere.
what I mean? And holy is your name, Lord. Yeah. It's just like this is like some alien stuff.
Well, you know, and I tell people all the time. I tell my kids, you know, you know, whether you believe in speaking in tongues or you believe in people being slain in spirit, rolling around on the floor, or whatever, here's the thing. Maybe that's emotion.
Yeah.
But if they're being emotional about their God,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and we're created in his image, so that tells me he's an emotional being. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are people in Pentecostal churches getting it 100% right? Probably not.
No.
But I think a lot of the people who are scared to worship God truly and freely are missing out on a whole lot.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if you're doing it in the right heart, you're not doing it to be looked at. You're not doing it for you to receive any praise. You're saying, God, I feel like your spirit's moving on me, and I'm going to. I mean, the Bible says David danced naked before the Lord, like tore his clothes off and danced naked. You know, how crazy did he look? But he was also a man after God's own heart.
And if that's where we're supposed to do it.
Yeah, and I can tell a huge difference in just my own spiritual walk from being, and there again, I don't agree with everything that happens in a Pentecostal church on Sunday. You know what I mean?
That's a wrap. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. If you enjoyed that episode, please go and check out part 2. It should be available now. If you're watching us on YouTube and you like what you heard and want more content from us, please subscribe, hit that like button, and leave us a comment. If you're listening on Spotify or some other podcast platform, please hit that join and follow button and leave us a comment. It really does matter. It helps us and everyone involved who's been on the show to get their story out there, and that's what it's about. If you'd like to be a part of the show or have an idea of something you would like us to discuss or talk about, leave us a comment or shoot us an email at amongtheashes@yahoo.com. Thanks again for checking us out. Remember, Jesus loves you and so do we. Keep your head up.